Do you ever feel like you are anti-aging?
I'm gonna sue all of these companies
Mhm.
that say anti-aging on any of their products because regardless if I use them or not, time will come for me and my skin cells and my hair and my et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so how fucking dare you
Yeah.
put anti-aging on a thing? It makes my
Yeah.
blood boil. Hi, I'm the teen dream sweeping across the scene, Phoebe.
Hi, I'm Jacques,
And welcome to Do You Ever Feel Like?
where we ask the questions that everyone's thinking and no one's answering. I'm taking you on a less wild ride, I promise. Um, Hi.
Hello, we made it.
We made it.
What a
The
journey.
energy and my energy feels very different today. You know?
I can tell.
Yeah.
I can tell by your top. Yeah. Did you buy anything at the Anthro outlet yesterday?
No.
Ugh, you're a strong woman. Not even a little fucking bowl? Not even a teensy little trinket?
You know what I bought?
A ring holder?
I bought
A
candles.
hoop? Okay, so you did. Okay. Whew.
Like, because, they're so much cheaper at the outlet. So I bought candles. But wait, why do you keep going? Can you hear me?
I'm yeah.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't frozen. I was just making a freaky little
Ah!
face as you talk about candle.
Okay, here's the thing. Okay, here's what's the thing. The thing
Yeah.
is that I went into Anthro outlet and I was like, okay, I don't want to just like be here and therefore that means I have to buy something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to see the lay of the land. I want to see if this is actually worth it. I want to see if what is the point of this place? Because I've never been there before,
Yeah. Mhm.
Because I'm so sick of like buying things when you move into a new house and then like you hate them 3 years later. Like I'm not
Yeah.
in I just want to like buy things I'm going to love for a long time, you know?
Yeah.
So I got the lay of the land.
Yeah. That's good. You did a pulse check on the situation. I like
Yes.
that. It's funny, like, outlets are such a big thing here because I live, like, close enough to the border that, like, people that's, like, what, like, people do on their weekends. They, like, drive down to Buffalo
Mhm.
and go to the outlets, and the concept of any outlet gives me hives.
Oh yeah.
It reminds me of, like, being stuck like, we used to go like, it was like a school activity for
What?
whatever reason. They would, like, take us to we would, like, go to a thing, like, maybe we would go to, like, I don't know, like, a theme park or something like
Uh-huh.
that. Because it's also a lot cheaper too if you go down to Buffalo, like,
Mm,
stuff in the States is well, it used I don't know. When I was a kid, that's what like, we would go, like, shopping in the States because
right.
it was less expensive and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um uh, I think we're dealing with the consequences of that now. Anyway, yeah, like that's what we would do. And so
Mhm.
I have just like such memories of like sitting on a school bus, like hot, because I have like no interest in going to spend like $20 at like the Old Navy outlet. So-
That's like so wild that you all would do that. That's like what?
uh-huh.
What?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I know. He's saying it now. I'm like,
What?
that was like a public school activity. I know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I look at now. I'm like, that is a public school activity.
Mhm.
Who was in charge? They should not be doing that anymore.
Yeah. Um,
I am running a small animal convalescent center now. I have a care home
you
for small
do.
animals.
You really do.
It is ridiculous. It is
I
ridiculous.
The content of this extravaganza has been
I'll,
very
I'll
interesting.
use I'll put the photo that I sent you this morning on our Instagram. So the dog has low back pain, which
This is actually a great segue to the topic today.
This is great.
Yeah.
These animals are making me do stuff that I never thought I would do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like stuff, and so it makes me terrified even more for the concept of having children,
Mm.
because there are things that I swear I will not do with children. Boundaries, hard lines. And I know, but I don't want to know. I want to, like, so the dog has low back pain, and she overdid it on the weekend. She was
Oh,
doing
no.
better, and it's also so hard to keep this little rodent. She's supposed to, like, be chill.
Yeah.
It's like not she loves her favorite activity. I was telling the vet this, and the vet made the most, like, trying not to be disgusted at me face I've ever seen. And she was like, I was like, "Oh my god, I could tell she was like trying really hard to like not say something rude." Um but the dog's favorite activity is to sit up on the back of the couch with the cat and or climb on the radiator covers to look out the window, which are easily 4 feet off of the ground.
Mm.
And then she flies off of the back of the couch.
Oh,
And I was
shit.
telling the vet this, and she was like, well, maybe not great. So anyway, we're trying to keep all pets on the floor, and they're convalescing together in front of the fireplace live stream with classical music, because she was crying because I wasn't in the room with her. And then she didn't like her bed that she was on, so I had to put a blanket on her. And she's got her painkillers and anti-inflammatory back medication.
Oh,
Mhm. 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 Feeding
wow.
time is a whole activity around here. Anyway, it's making me LOL. I'm a nurse. I'm a dog nurse. I'm a pet nurse.
You're a dog nurse. Yeah, I do think that dogs and pets in some ways are harder than children.
Well, and I think I've said this on the pod before. Multiple of my mother's friends, women who have raised many children, are in their 60s now, have said this to me, and it
Mhm.
feels very reaffirming. Because she's like, it's not even that they're harder. She's like, emotionally, it's more difficult, I find,
Mm.
when your pets are sick or you're trying to take care of them, because they don't know and you don't know.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to communicate together and you can't reason with them.
Yeah.
Thankfully, everyone's good at taking their pills. That was a nervy thing.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was so stressed yesterday. I was like, oh God, the dog's dying. She's going to have surgery. This is my brain.
Of
I was
course.
very stressed.
Yeah.
And then I was getting her pill out and to put peanut butter on it. And the second I opened the peanut butter jar, she came from the other room and like was like, oh, are we having peanut butter now? So I have faith that they're actually okay. But oh my God.
You know what? We go back and forth. We go back and forth. Am I Phoebe's mom? Am I Phoebe's sister?
Yeah.
I am Phoebe's
Hmm.
dog. I am Winona.
Although I have to say, I'm never as worried for you,
Yeah.
because I'm like, she's just being dramatic in the other rooms.
No, exactly. But I'm like, when I'm sick, that is totally the thing. It's like,
Hmm.
like I'm
Yeah.
like totally, like
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm a child.
Oh, we're having little bits of peanut butter. It's like the opening of a peanut butter jar is not that like loud of an activity. It's like the slide of plastic on each other. And she was like, oh, like she like flops into the room with her little ears and her tail tucked, and she'll like do a little small tail wag. It's
I'm like,
ridiculous.
exactly. And I'm also like Winona because like she didn't rest. And now she's
Yes,
not
she
like
didn't rest, and
she
now
was
she's
like
hurt herself again.
yes. Yep.
I know. I know. I know.
Poor
I
Winona.
know. It's very human. It's very human. But yeah, called the vet again. She's like, yeah, she really just needs to sit still. I'm like, would you like to come over
I know.
and wrangle 15 pounds of pure weasel meat?
Yes.
Like, if she's going to do something, she's going to do something.
Hilarious. So
So, anyway, I don't know what to do.
I was at my grandparents this weekend, right? And we
Hmm.
brought Ollie, and that's what my grandma said. My grandma was like, my grandmother raised, hold on,
Yeah, she raised a cajillion children.
cajillion children, like 9.
what, 8, 9? Yeah.
9. And she was like
Ugh.
she literally was like, I
Wait,
would
no, I just need to I always need a moment.
I know,
I always need a moment with that. That is
crazy, right? She she didn't birth all 9 children, but she raised 9 children.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, no, I know,
It's
I'm
all the
just
same.
it is all the same. It is all the same. I'm just saying, there is an extra level of, like, whoa, when I also hear that people have, like, you know, birthed that many
Yeah.
kids. Anyways, wait, what was I saying? Oh, and each she
Ollie.
yeah, she was like, "Ollie's great," 'cause he is, he's great. But she was
Yeah.
like, "No, no, like, I would still go back and raise my 9 kids again before having a dog. Like, dogs are harder."
Grandma Rose.
I was like, "Okay, Grandma Rose." And Grandpa Merv doesn't like dogs because Grandpa Merv was a milkman. And so
Oh, that's so
he
funny.
was,
He
like,
got attacked. He was
attacked by
bitten.
dogs all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
That's classic. That's classic. I should send you my Uncle David's comic, Reed Fleming, World's Toughest Milkman,
Yes.
for you to look at.
I
Yeah.
feel
He
like
gets in all sorts of
I
adventures.
feel like Grandpa might know about that already.
Re
I think I
Really?
told him.
That's
I
funny.
think I might have told him. Um,
That's so funny.
my grandfather has the best stories, like, about being a
I
milkman.
can only imagine. I can only
It's
imagine.
yeah, yeah,
How long was he a milkman for?
long time. I mean, a
Wow.
lot of my childhood my dad's childhood.
R
And there were 6 boys, 5 boys, I don't know how many uncles I have, and they would all do the route with him, like, they would get up before school and go out with
That's
him.
amazing to think of. I'm so fascinated by that because it's like that I don't have any concept of that job.
Oh, yeah.
It just doesn't
Yeah.
exist anymore.
Yeah, totally.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wild.
And, like, my grandpa was, like, you know, suave.
Y
So he was,
Yeah, he
like
was a man about
he
town
was
with
a
his
man about
milk.
town as a milkman, like, everyone liked Grandpa Murph.
Yeah. Yeah. Lives up to the title.
Like, if you want someone dropping off milk at your house, it's Grandpa
Mhm.
Murph.
You want it to be Merv. Yeah.
Yes.
Merv Wills?
Merv Grobel.
Oh, okay. Okay. Love it.
What a good name,
Love
right?
it.
Okay. I love that we're talking about grandparents. I love that we're talking about dogs that are aging because today I want to talk about aging.
Oh god. Oh,
And I
no. This is funny because gray hairs have taken up residence.
Mhm.
I've always had grays,
Mhm.
but they've exploded in the last couple of years.
Interesting.
And I find it interesting.
Mhm.
Okay, I have much to say.
I think my question is, do you ever feel like you are anti-aging?
I don't know. Oh, wow. I'm anti-aging. Yeah, I I'm gonna sue all of these companies
Mhm.
that say anti-aging on any of their products because regardless if I use them or not, time will come for me and my skin cells and my hair and my et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so how fucking dare you
Yeah.
put anti-aging on a thing? It makes my
Yeah.
blood boil.
Yeah.
Ugh. I'm glad you're doing this episode because if I think I were gonna leave, I would not become a popular person on the internet.
Well, we talk about this stuff and I'm using a lot of the things that you've brought to me for this episode.
Yeah, because
Un-
I need to be reeled in. I need to be reeled in.
exactly, under this, like, space of me bringing it because I was like,
Yeah.
if this is Phoebe's domain, this episode is gonna go haywire.
Yeah, well, I will ruin both of our careers before they even really start. Mhm.
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
We will
mhm,
get
mhm.
no sponsorships ever.
No. Here's the thing. Okay, so I I okay, I think, like,
Yeah, tell me where
anti-aging
you're at.
as, like, a concept, I understand it, right? Like, obviously, like, I understand like, this idea of, like, youth is wasted on the young. Like, I get where that comes
Mhm.
from. Um, but I think this idea of, like I mean, what like we always say, I think all of this stuff has to do with money, obviously, has to do with marketing, has to
Yes.
do with capitalism, and, like, even, like, literally the passing of time, right, is, like,
Yeah.
only about how much money you can spend and how much money you can make, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know? And
Well, and the concept of beauty, right? Like, who is defining the concept of whatever version of beauty?
right, exactly. I don't have examples of this for this episode, which probably should. But there are places in the world where, like, obviously, where, like, people live to be really, 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 really old. Like, there's that, it's like an island. What is that
Yes, yes,
island
yes, yes, yes,
outside
yes,
of
yes, 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 yes.
do you know what I'm talking
Old
about?
Island.
Is that what it's called?
No, that's what I'm Googling.
There's that island where, like, everyone lives to be, like, 100 years old or something, right? Um
So this thing brings
Oh, it's
up,
I think it's in Japan.
North Sentinel? North Sentinel? The Sentinelese
No,
indigenous group?
I think you might be thinking of literally the oldest island. I'm thinking of the people. So, like, Okinawa, I think, in Japan is a place where people live to be, like, hundreds of years old.
I have no media literacy at all. Just yeah, okay. I'm just gonna maybe not.
It's like okay, so you know how there's, like, the blue zones, and we talk about these islands in the blue zones about being, like, basically, like, the way we should be doing life. Like, everyone's healthy, they live
Yeah.
until they're, like, 150 years old. Like, they're
Mhm.
not burdened by these systems, right? They
Yeah.
don't, whatever. And I feel like that there's always this kind of argument of, like, well, I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if you were like this when I was really young. I was like, I don't want to be old. I want to die when I'm like 40. I want to have like a
Oh,
meaningful youthful
yeah.
life and then like go out or whatever. And people like young people
Mhm.
say this thing is like a romanticism, I think, of like
Well, it was very I think it was I mean, I don't know, I can't speak to other times, but my understanding of that concept is that it was very of the '90s, right?
right.
Right, kind of as at the end of our it was kind of happening right or the end of it was kind of happening as we were coming into, like, our what do you call it? Adolescence or something like that, but,
Hmm.
um,
Like
yeah,
Kurt
the, like, live
Cobain,
fast Yeah,
it's
exactly,
like
that's what I'm thinking
exactly.
of.
It's like
Yeah.
sexy to like be
The Live
unhealthy.
Fast, Die What's it? The 27 Club,
Exactly. Right.
which is it's like
What?
this is so funny. This feels do you know the 27 Club?
No, I know 20.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
die yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I was watching it's just one of those things that it's so funny to have when you have perspective on these things. I watched Juno on the weekend,
Mhm.
and it was like my favorite movie when I was a teenager. I was like the perfect age. I think it came out when I was like 13 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that movie and being like, "Yeah, I love Juno. Like, I wanna be a little fart teenager running around town." Oh my god. Does that movie hit differently when
Mhm.
you are an adult and you're just like, where are the adults in the room? Like, who can take responsibility of these things? And I think it's so funny to have that, like this desire to want to be like Jennifer Garner wants to be a grown up. Like she wants to be a mother and
Mhm.
she mothers everyone around her in this really like beautiful way and I think
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. It's just a funny thing to like look back on now and be like, "Oh yeah,
Mhm.
I want to get old."
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, like there's okay, so this island is kind of known as like the island of like the old people, the
Mhm.
centenarians. Like this idea like everyone here lives until they're like 110, 120 years old. And like
Mhm.
I okay, so there's one part of me that's like that sounds amazing. Like let
Mhm.
me live in my old life, right? And then there's another part of me that's
Mhm.
like, no, what does one do with that amount of time in the world,
Mhm.
right? Like, what do we do?
Mhm.
And I feel like there's this like, I don't know, like these two things are like up against each other, right? This like,
Yeah.
right? These two things of like, I don't know, like live fast, die young. Youth is wasted on the young. There's kind of
Mhm.
focus on all the adventure and experimentation
Mhm.
and everything and the learning of like being young. And then like you get to be older and, you know, or like there's this other side of like being old. There's wisdom. You can do whatever you want. You can like
Right.
act like
Mhm.
you know what I mean? There's like this
Yeah.
there's like these two kind
Permission
of
in a way.
yes, exactly. And there's like these two kind of
Yeah. Hmm.
things. Like we can be young and adventurous or we can be old and be 120 years old and just like live in the bed all the time, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not saying these people do that. I'm sure like they're living healthy beautiful lives. I'm just saying like these are the options? Like I don't know. Like this feels
Yeah.
very like confusing and limiting to me. Um, and, like, I haven't even gotten into the beauty shit about this stuff, right? And, like,
Yeah.
the beauty standards.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny that you say that too of like these the when we look at because it's so I've been thinking about this in regards to like living in a city of like
Mhm.
how people are like quote unquote supposed to live, which I think is really quickly all of this like oh, and I don't even really like using the word alternative. I guess we can call it like alternative. Here's what's coming up for me. Just in talking about this is like um optimization of
Yes.
health and beauty, and I think the that slips so quickly into like white supremacist
Mhm.
horrific
Mhm.
territory.
Mhm.
um and there is information to be learned from these things. So it's like it's such a tricky territory to navigate, and I really like the podcast maintenance phase, but I have to really, and if listeners, if you haven't listened, it's like such a popular podcast now. I'm sure most people that would listen to it know what it is.
Yeah.
But um Aubrey Gordon and Michael Hobbs talk about, usually they're talking about a book,
Mhm.
but they're like deconstructing a diet or diet book or fad or something like that and kind of
Mhm.
going through the science of these things and typically why it's bullshit or kind of debunking
Mhm.
wellness trends. And it's very interesting, but I really have to like measure my intake of that podcast because one, it makes me so seething angry. Um, and I start arguing with people in the world as
Mhm.
I start listening to it. And I think they're really right and correct. And at the same time, I go, these things might have helped people. And I don't know if we can ever really take away somebody's, like, if you can say something that makes your life good, or you can find peace or like wellness or happiness from something, um and just call that thing bad in a way. So it's I guess it's what
Mm.
it's like this like knife's edge that we kind of walk when we look at these, like the way people are supposed to live is like, yes, very informative, and like maybe if we want to live very 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 long lives, I would like we should all move there or something like that.
Yeah.
And also like I think our culture is better for like disabled people get to exist and be okay. Like people with health problems get to exist and be okay,
Right.
but like not like it's great, but like brown people get to exist and be okay. Like it's this like I don't know what the answer is, but I do think about it a lot. And as somebody who also has really benefited from like, you know, alternative healthcare and like Eastern medicine and stuff like that. I don't know. But like that's what's coming up as we kind of talk about like aging is like I guess it's almost kinda like who gets to age, right? And in what ways do
Mm.
they get to age?
Mhm. Mhm.
That's what it is.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's what it is. Who gets
Mhm.
to age?
Yeah, who gets to age? And I think, you know, I love what you're saying about optimization, right? Because it's like, okay, so
Yeah.
that's what I mean about these 2 things. It's like optimize your youth, like get the most out of your youth, and then like optimize your old age. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and then there's like this middle place. And it's like, who the fuck cares about you if you're 40 years old? You know what I mean? Like, who
Yeah.
cares? And I
Yeah.
think so there's like that. And I think like exactly optimization, like aging well. Like it's
Yeah.
not an, it's like this.
Well, and aging in a way that's palatable for everybody else,
Mhm.
right?
And I think about this idea of like, okay, exactly, like all of this coverage, all of this conversation around the places in the world where people live, to be 100 and something years old. And I think like,
Mhm.
why? Okay, who cares? Like
Yeah.
why do we care about that? Like why is this a New York Times article? Like I don't really know like
Mm.
why is it better to live longer?
Mhm. Well, and
Why?
I think what's really funny too is like when I think COVID was a real highlighter of this for
Mhm.
me, particularly, but where we saw people like if somebody under the age of like 75 dies, we go, wow, that's like really young.
Yeah.
To like for me still now and like
Mhm.
watching I mean, I don't know if I've ever talked about this in the podcast, but where my like hometown that I grew up in
Mhm.
has like a lot of really horrible statistics for teenagers. Like it was like number 1 for teen pregnancy, number 1 in cocaine use when I was a teenager,
Mm.
and a lot a lot of people. My graduating class was like maybe 50 people.
Mm.
I know way too many people my age that have died under
Mhm.
the age of 30. And
Mhm.
like that is I can't even conceive how tragic that is.
Yeah.
Um, and then even then, it's like, yeah, if you die in your 40s, you die in your 50s, like you die so yeah, so I don't know. I guess part of the thing I heard something really interesting the other day, and I
Mhm.
don't have a lot of anxiousness around death.
Yeah.
Like I'll talk I love you know me. I love to talk about anything
Mhm. Mhm.
all the time.
Mhm.
My brother, on the other hand, like if I talk about dying, like he does not like it at all.
Mhm.
But something that I find very interesting and very calming is like there is no death as long as there's life
Yeah.
in the world,
Yeah.
right? Like, our bodies aren't here,
Mhm.
but like we certainly are in many ways. And I don't even mean in like this necessarily in the spirit realm. You can believe in whatever you want in that regard, but
Right.
like, a song comes on the radio and someone thinks of you. Like,
Mhm.
that's a very peaceful thought for me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Totally.
that was a weird tangent.
No, I get it. Like, it's like, I mean, we're not saying that like death is not tragic and scary and hard, and we don't have
Yeah.
tools and for a bunch of reasons and like our kind of like
Mhm.
Western culture too, et cetera. Right. But like,
Mhm.
I just think there's like this very interesting, like, I don't know, like, why is that like why is it tragic for a 40 like the only reason that's considered tragic is because there's such an emphasis on like living as long as you possibly can.
Well, and I also think it's tragic because it means I think what's actually tragic about it is it means typically something failed you, right?
Mhm.
Like
Interesting.
like healthcare failed you, social structures failed you,
Mhm.
people around you failed you, like
Mhm.
mental health resources failed you. Like that is the tragedy. It's I mean, age, it's sad when people leave their families and children behind. Um,
Right.
but the thing that I think is what people get angry at maybe, and I'll just speak from personal experience from the people that I've lost, it's like, yeah, an intervention didn't happen of some kind,
Yeah.
right? And that's sad. And or random, and that is even
That's
worse
even
to
worse. We
contend with.
can't deal with that. No, we can't contend with that at all. And yet
Mhm.
I feel like the response is kind of always like, you know, it's always about the age. It's like, "Oh, that's so tragic because
Mhm.
this person died so young, or they had so much left of their life, or they had young
Yeah.
kids, or they had blah, 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 blah." It's like,
Yeah.
it's not the outcry and the outrage is not what you're
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
is not
Yeah.
the randomness
A lack of
or lack of
Mhm.
whatever, like, or lack of
Yeah.
resources, etcetera. That's not the
Mm.
focus. The focus is the age. And I just find
Mhm.
that
Well, and that's funny too because I think, like, a lot of the time I mean, I think about this when I look at my family.
Mhm.
Um, like, my cousins some of my cousins are entering their 50s,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "No, you're
Yeah.
22.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm 15.
Mhm.
All of my siblings are, like, 8, 10, and 12,
Right.
always."
Yeah.
And and same thing with my parents, like, watching my mom's gone fully gray, and I'll see her sometimes, like, when we were, like, out in the world together, I'll, like, see her on the other side, and I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. Like, that's not my mom." Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
my mom has, like, short hair, like, whatever haircut she had in the '90s and
Oh,
however she was dyeing her
yeah.
hair then. And so I think what's really funny is, like, as much as we think we, like, look at each other oh, actually, here's a funny little anecdote to prove my point. Um, Simon's grandmother just got cataract surgery
Mm.
or something she got some sort of vision surgery,
Mhm.
and she was telling me that she woke up the next morning and she looked in the mirror to put her makeup on, and she said, "Who is this old woman?" And then
Mm.
she had all of her friends who she's known for decades come over for book club, and she was like, "You're all so old and wrinkly. Like, what happened to you?" And she was like, "I wish I never got this eye surgery. Like, I can see everything now and I don't like it."
Mhm.
And I know we say this all the time, but it really is such an interesting feeling. Like, age, we do all this stuff to, like, make us feel better about our age
Mhm.
externally, or release ourselves from it or whatever the thing is. And no one fucking matter no one cares, and no one notices,
Mhm.
and no one sees it because our perception of that person has nothing to do with how old they are or how much they're aging because my little brother
Mhm.
will be 8 for
Oh, yeah.
as long as we are on this earth together.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love that photo that you sent me of your grandma and her sister the other day because that's what I was thinking of.
Mhm.
Like, could you imagine being in your 90s with your sister and you're, like, going to bicker about what the other person is wearing?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
"Is this my top?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we act like it's a thing, and it's not, and
Yeah.
it's you're right, I guess it's the only time we really bring up age in any kind of, like, outragey way is when I guess in grief it could be like, "Oh, they're so young."
Mhm.
'Cause I guess you have to say that when you're so angry, right?
Right, of
What are you gonna
course.
go do, like, grab a doctor by their collar?
Yeah, no, no,
Maybe people
yeah.
do that, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Huh, interesting.
And I think, like, I don't know, I mean, there's so many things, like, this conversation, there's so much to say, but I think that
Mhm,
I don't know, I'm in the place in my life where, it's not just my grandparents anymore. It's like my parents, right? Like what you're saying, like my
yes.
parents are going gray.
Yeah,
I'm worried about my parents' health. I'm worried about like
yeah,
when I'm going to have to start taking care of them. I'm, et
yep,
cetera, et cetera. And I've actually had a lot of people to be 30. I actually have like quite a few
I know.
people in my life who have already lost their parents.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, what's going on with that generation? Like, what were you all doing? I mean, I know you were eating like TV dinners, which probably wasn't helpful. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
but
they
like,
were bathing in DDT
yeah,
is
like,
what they
I'm
were
like,
doing.
what's going on here? Like, et cetera, et cetera. And I think exactly this, who is allowed to age, I think is a really good question. And I think like, how we take care of people who have aged is a whole other
Mhm,
podcast, right? And like ageism and all of that. But I was really thinking about like, why do we care? And like, what is the
mhm,
obsession? Like, why do we care about like the experimentation of youth or the experience of old age? And then like,
mhm,
yeah, exactly. Who is allowed to get older? And
mhm.
then, of course, obviously, I'm like, well, if we answer that question, I'm like, okay, women are not allowed
I
to
mean, it's
age.
always no, 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 no.
No,
Yeah.
women can't age. Men are sexier when they're older. Blah
Mhm,
blah 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 blah. Which like I don't actually
mhm.
think is true. Like personally, I don't really get that. But
That's so funny. I was like, to bring it back to Juno again, her like best friend who's like in love with the like middle-aged, like overweight teacher in the hallway wearing his like sweater vest.
right.
She's like, oh, he's so hot.
Like, okay, yes, and there's, like, this, like, okay, so here we go. Here we go. Okay, so men, it's like
Yeah.
we had this whole thing recently, like, I don't know, like, around the pandemic, I wanna say, what is time of this, like,
Hmm.
dad bod thing or this, like,
Yeah.
men who, like, are basically, like, don't take care of themselves, essentially, or, like,
Yeah.
don't like, we're like, "Ooh," like, we're
Well, what's
creating
funny, yeah.
this
Yeah.
space, like, we're creating the box, we're creating this thing to go, like, "This is fine, and we like it, and it's hot," and, like, not only we're creating that and it's, like, kind of like a shush shush under the table thing, we're like, it's everywhere. It's like we're putting it into to the conversation, right? But it's like, where is that for, like, the people who really love an older lady? Like, where the hell is that?
Hmm.
Why can we, like, go on the internet and see, like, all of the Slurpee, pics that we love about I don't know why I said Slurpee.
Slurpee pics.
That we love
Thirsty?
of
So you're trying to say thirsty?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Slurpee pics. Stop it. That's aging.
That's aging. You know why I said that too? Because I had a Slurpee on the road last night. That's why. Okay. A road snack. Oh my god, that's so funny. I'm dying.
That is so funny. I love that. Slurpee pics only. Slurpee pics are like I think they're hotter than thirst traps.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Awesome. Done. Decided. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Of like when it comes to men, it's like there's this freedom or something, or it's like there's this like you can love any man of any age, of any size, of any blah blah blah. Like they're in the like it's like there's this
Yes.
acceptability around their bodies and around
Yeah.
aging and around whatever, right? But
Yeah.
it's like when we do this to women, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
is there is there an out in front dialogue about the men that are really attracted to older women? No.
Yeah.
Like, is there
Well,
a
but not even just older, just the representation of not thin, not I mean, again, it's always the target is so narrow, right? Like
right?
you have to be skinny but not too skinny. You
Mm-hmm.
have to work out but not too much. You
Mm-hmm.
have to like eating, but again, not too much.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Oh my
and
god,
and
I
for men,
recently
you're right. It's so interesting for men get to be and are hotter. Zac Efron like bulked up for something. Do you remember this? This Zac Efron's been on whatever. Zac Efron gets to live his freaking life in whatever body he desires.
yes. Yeah.
I will go Zac.
Yeah.
But he like had started like everyone was loving him like a couple years ago on the internet for
Mhm.
like having a dad bod. He was like out in Australia, I think, surfing with like a
Mhm.
and also again dad bod is like just like normal looking person,
Yes.
like not Marvel, like
Exactly.
not Marvel man.
Exactly.
And then he like bulked up for something because he did that. And that's what these when men or women look like that, when fucking celebrities look that, they're being paid to do that with a
Mhm.
team of people.
Mhm.
Who is it? Was it Kumail Nanjiani? Is he the one who was in that Marvel movie? And he
Yes.
was like, this feels fucking great. This is so much work and I'm miserable and I'm never doing it again.
Mhm.
And I only did it because I got paid a lot of money
Mhm.
and everyone else around me was making my plain white chicken breasts.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I think I think that's part of it. I mean, we'll get to this in a second, but like the honesty around those conversations. Anyway, then Zach has, I think at the moment, he's like dissolved some of his fillers and like has a soft body again.
Mhm.
And everyone's like, oh, yes, Zach, yes. And it's like, if a fucking woman did that, I mean, Black China's on that journey right now. She's like gotten some of her implants removed and she's dissolving her fillers. And people on the internet are being so horrible to her
Yeah,
because
because
like now she looks like she's in her 30s.
we can we can adapt the the cultural like obsession or like the societal acceptance or like whatever to where however men want to look. Like
Yeah.
honestly, like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
can respond. But if it's
Mhm.
but we don't do
Yeah,
that.
men will always win.
Yeah,
Men
and they
will
will always
always
win,
win.
but we don't do that with women, and
No.
but it's insane to me because it's like, I know that there are men out there that love themselves a gray-haired
Mhm.
lady. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know that that's the case, but we don't
I mean,
normalize
I don't
that.
even care about men loving women. I care about me liking myself. Like, I genuinely very much love my body.
Mhm,
I don't care about my
mhm.
hair. Like I and that's been a really, really, really long journey.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily want to get into the eating disorder stuff.
No, no.
For
It
many reasons, just
Yes.
because it's 10 a.m. But it's been for me personally, it's been a really long journey, and
Mhm,
I actually really fucking like myself,
mhm,
and I really like my body, even on days where, um, it's sore and it's not doing the things that I
mhm,
quote unquote want it to do. I'm so thankful
mhm.
that I'm still here because there are days where I didn't want to be here,
Yep,
and
yep.
go fuck yourself if you think I should be anything other
Oh, yeah.
than what I am right now.
Mhm,
Like, and this is what I mean. Like, fuck these companies that
mhm,
write anti-aging or slim or promise a result that is so s- not happening ever of any kind,
mhm,
and requires a full team of people
mhm,
and salaries and photo shoots and computer wizardry. Like, fuck off. You are doing so much damage.
mhm,
You are causing so much harm. I
mhm.
read this statistic the other day that young girls develop body image issues before the age of 5.
Oh god. Don't even get me started.
Like, f fuck off.
I
So, no, I don't even care about men
No, of
liking me
course
ever,
not.
and was quite
No.
frankly, I
Fuck
don't
that.
want
No.
I don't and I don't even really need to hear about men liking any kind of women. I what I want, and I mean, this is just like my thesis on the world. I'm, like, always gonna be on team woman,
Yeah.
like, all the
No,
time,
totally.
and
Yeah,
whoever that woman is,
yeah.
like, I
Well, this is the thing is like
I want them to feel the permission to be whatever version of themselves they wanna be and whatever
mhm,
presentation that is.
mhm,
And whether that's, like, you dye your hair
mhm,
every single day until you die, like my grandma,
mhm.
who box dyed her hair in the sink up until she quite physically couldn't, or you go gray the second you want to. I or whatever the manifestation of those things are. I don't care, but
No,
God.
totally. And I'm not saying I don't give a shit about what men find attractive, like, whatever. I'm
No, I know
saying
you
is
don't. Yeah.
that there's this, when we talk about who's allowed to age, that gets complicated.
Mhm.
Men are allowed to age, women are not allowed to age. Uh,
Well, and only white women are allowed to age
only
either
Yes,
as well.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, but I think there is this thing of, like, you know, we once again want to do this thing where we say, like, well, it's about the fact that that socially we don't accept older women as, like, sexy, youthful,
Mhm.
blah 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 blah. It, like, like, kid bearing, etc. So
Well,
so
we do if they fit that, like, if Helen Mirren is in her bikini and she doesn't have a tummy and she has big arms and she's
right,
thin
yeah,
enough, you know?
yeah.
Like, then oh, she looks so good for her age,
Oh
means
god.
she looks so colonially acceptable.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. So and we do this though, and we say like, "Oh, because there is no space, there is no socially constructed, there is no response to, like, finding women like that attractive, hot, sexy from men." But it's like, "No, women.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. Like, we're doing this to each other." Like, we always wanna say it's about, like, the male
Yeah.
gaze, right? Or,
Yeah.
like, the male, like, attraction or, like,
Mhm.
but it's like, "No, no, no, no. Like, we're
Well, yeah.
this is like, we're doing this,
Mhm.
it's us. It's us. Like,
Well, it's what happens in the bathroom
exactly.
when women go to the bathroom together.
Mhm.
Mhm. Okay, so this is where I might take you down with me.
Okay, fine.
Um,
I mean,
And
honestly, what else I mean, it's gonna happen.
yeah. I really, 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 really hate plastic surgery, and I don't even know if we're really calling it plastic surgery anymore because, like, that was the thing
Mhm,
when we were, like, in the early 2000s, and
mhm,
now it's, like, fillers and injectables, and you can go I could walk out my front door right now
mhm,
and hit up any little med spa that's on the street
mhm,
now and spend a couple $100
mhm,
and get something put in my face. So I don't
mhm,
even really know what we're calling these anymore, but
mhm,
the accessibility of them is high.
mhm.
What were you just saying? You were saying, "Oh, we do it to each other."
I was saying
Um,
it's so easy to be like,
yeah.
well, men get to be hot no matter how old they are, but they're just not attracted to older women because, like, literally, that's a lie.
Yeah.
That's not true. Like, men are attracted to older
Mhm.
women, and they're also victims of this shit as well. Like, women
Yes.
need to stop going, like,
Oh,
well, it's
I would
because of
say
men don't like me.
yeah.
It's like, ew, who cares? That's not what this
Who
is.
cares?
Like, oh,
That man looks like a toad. Like, why do we fucking ever care about what men think ever? Like,
like,
fuck
no,
off.
fuck off. Like,
Ugh.
it's you. Like, it's us. It's us doing it to each other in the bathroom. Exactly. It's us looking at
Mhm.
Helen Mirren and being like, oh, she's so fit or she looks so good for her age because
Mhm.
she looks exactly like thin, white,
Mhm.
etc. It's us. It's
Yeah.
not, it's all of us. It's not men thinking we're attractive or
Yeah.
not. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Well, and then it's like I was saying, it's like I or like you turn on Netflix and every single person on any Netflix reality TV show has, the cheapest cheap lip fillers that you can go and get before you get on TV.
Hmm.
And what I think, you know, I don't I want to say this. I'm like I said, I'm always on team woman.
Yes.
And if I'm pretty sure I because of their popularity, I bet you we have listeners that have stuff in their faces and their bodies and
Hmm.
like that's cool and great and fine. My question is going to be okay, actually I'll speak from my perspective. I really wanted a boob job for a really long time.
Yeah.
And also I wanted veneers, which is weird because my parents spent a lot of money on braces.
What are
But
veneers technically?
vene oh my god, well, they're not disgusting. They're just creepy and strange and
Okay.
people they're also help people and if they whatever. But they shave down your they're like teeth over top of your teeth. So they have to grind down your teeth and like
Oh,
put them on so they like get glued on.
interesting.
Um but what I think is so interesting about veneers is I think they only last about 10 years or so. So you have to get your like teeth filed down more and more every time.
Mm.
Anyway,
Mhm.
I thought I wanted veneers. I really, really wanted veneers and I really, really wanted a boob job to the point where I went and got consultations for them both.
Mhm.
And then instead of either of those things happening, I just happened to take a handful of yoga classes and start going to therapy and taking meds
Mhm.
and loving myself.
Mhm.
And I definitely think these things can be a pathway to that, maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm just always going to ask, why do you feel like this thing is going to help you? Because I think a lot of the time the answer is going to be because I'm going to feel more socially acceptable and likable in the room that I'm walking into.
Mhm.
Like if I have lip fillers and I look the certain way, and then don't even get me started on trends. Do not even get me started on trends and the Kardashians getting their freaking BBLs removed. Like our bodies are not.
What?
Do you know about this?
No. Of course I don't.
Okay, so like the trend for like the last couple of years has been huge hips, huge butt. I don't even really know if big boobs were a part of it.
Oh,
Probably,
I
I don't know, like
see.
this very hourglassy
Mm.
figure.
Mm.
And they all, well, not they all, but Chloe, I think at the very least, and this is all reported because they never talk about what they have and have not had done, right? Except for the one
Mm.
Kim was like, I don't have implants in my butt, but that's because before we knew about what BBLs were. Um, but Chloe, I think, yeah, Chloe had hers removed, and so now she looks because the 90s square
Mm.
or long rectangle low-rise jeans are trendy right now. And so my like part of this thing is like, sure, go put a thing in your face, put a thing in your body.
Yeah.
maybe that makes you feel better, but I don't know if that is the long-term solution to these things,
Mm.
and it's
Here
so hard
Yeah.
because I don't if you I if you're doing something for yourself, okay, I think that's part of it. Are you doing it for yourself? Is it for
Yes.
you?
Yeah.
Is it actually for you?
Yeah. Mhm.
Because I do, I'm gonna question that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna question that.
I'm gonna question that as well in the sense okay, so I think, you know, everything is awful, right? Like, everything is awful. Exactly, we live until we die, age, blah, 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 blah. However you need to feel what like, however you need to survive on this planet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to an extent, right, of, like, harm to
Mhm.
others, like,
Mhm.
fine, whatever. But, like, I think what we're talking about is, like, harm to self in a way,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
and
Oh, don't even get me started on the side effects of these fucking implants either.
yeah, like,
Oh,
I
or
think
the things that get recalled.
yeah. I think what's very scary about this whole thing is, like there's so many things that scare about this. Okay, so did you hear about the CDC did that, oh my god, that study about social media and girls' mental health?
No.
Okay, so it came out, like,
Oh.
last month, and it basically said, "Surprise, surprise," like, teenage girls
Mhm.
are depressed, right?
Mhm.
And the kind of like the conversation or the response or even the recommendations within the CDC are all around like girls taking on the responsibility of fixing this thing, right? Like
Yeah.
girls having conversation, girls going and saying, I'm depressed, girls advocating for themselves.
Mhm.
Like there's not a single like I haven't seen
Mhm.
anything that's a reaction to this report that's like men, boys, etc.,
Mhm.
right? Where's their responsibility? How do we raise them?
Yeah.
How do we all of these things.
Well, and they're victims of this as well.
Exactly.
Like I
That's what I
do
mean.
I men are the first victims of patriarchy, I would
Mhm.
argue. And I don't need to make a whole big point about it, but I would suggest go and watch Dead Poet Society.
Yeah. Go and watch Dead Post Society, go and listen to Liz Plank's podcast, A
Yeah.
Man Enough. Um,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
I I think this gets really tricky. I think it gets really, really, really tricky in the sense of
It's
like
really hard, and I think it's that idea of, like, that knife's edge is coming up again, right?
mhm,
Because it's like, we don't wanna fall into white supremacist territory, and
yeah.
I guess either side. We don't wanna fall into there's, like, 2 shark pits, and they're
Yes.
both full of horrible
Yes.
things.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Like, it's like I think, you know, we accept these things in, like, very specific ways when it comes to, like, changing our bodies, right? Like,
Mhm.
if a person
Mhm.
wants to put head to toe tattoos on their body,
Mhm.
some we got opinions, right? Like, if a person
Well, and here's another thing as well, I will say as
Mhm,
somebody with tattoos and has considered getting I think no, I don't know of many places in the world where I put a tattoo on myself and I'm more socially acceptable.
oh,
The
yeah.
first tattoo I ever got was on my hands, and that's the thing that everyone says all the time. You don't wanna put tattoos on your hand because
Yeah,
then you won't be hireable."
exactly.
I have very highly visible tattoos,
Mhm.
none of which are I have very dumb ones as well,
Yeah.
and I don't but if you put fillers in your face and you have a boob job, you're more socially acceptable. So I think the conflation of those things is hilarious when we start. I don't think it's just altering body.
Yeah.
Okay, and then also I wanna say this. I know you're trying to make a point, but I wanted to bring something up as well. Just I don't think the point is like I don't think the argument here is like we should all look natural. We should age naturally.
No, because that's also
Because
fucked.
I think that's also fucked. And what irritates me the most is trans people need so much fucking therapy
Mhm.
beforehand and doctors to sign notes before they get like trans affirming like body dysmorphia changing healthcare that saves fucking lives
Yeah.
and it's not covered and you and I can mosey on down the road and get whatever we wanted to
Oh.
put in our faces and feel better about ourselves and that's okay when we do it but
Mhm.
it's not okay if someone who is suffering horribly
Mhm.
inside of themselves because th- their body doesn't match how they feel. Like that it makes me feel sick.
Yeah.
And there's no room in that conversation for, again, for that same because
Mhm.
Ugh.
Mhm.
Ah!
Mhm. 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 Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
all I
Mhm.
got in me
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
that.
It's tricky. It's really tricky. And, you know, I
I don't think it's tricky, it just irritates me. It's like, if you're gonna go and put something in your face, it's the same thing that's going on right now. If you've ever been to a drag brunch
Mhm.
with your bachelorette party, where the fuck are you in these
Oh,
conversations
no,
right now
totally.
where
Yeah.
they're happening
Yeah.
with drag queens?
Yeah.
And it's the exact same thing. If you're putting stuff in your face, if you're getting surgeries, where the fuck are you on trans affirming healthcare? So it's like it irritates. It's so
Mhm.
don't tell me it's for you if you're also not going to be for somebody else.
Right. Like, I think
Oh, it
I
makes me angry.
what I'm saying yes. What I'm saying with the trickiness is, like,
Mhm.
where is the line, I think is
Yeah.
what we're saying, right? Or, like, where's the line and,
Mhm.
like, where's the responsibility? And
Mhm.
I
Mhm. Mhm.
and that's what I think is really tricky because okay, I think anyone who tries to say that those 2 things are the same thing can fuck off, like, that's disgusting, like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like, it is not the same
Mhm.
thing for you to go and get a boob
Mhm.
job and, like, for trans women to get affirming healthcare, like, fuck the
Okay,
fuck
but
off,
even if it
like
was even if it was gonna be the same thing, where are you?
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because it's not, because it's simply not
No, it's
at
not.
this current moment in time.
Yeah, it's not. Um, that's really yeah, that's interesting. I think what we're saying is okay, Sonia Renee Taylor, gotta
Mhm.
bring Sonia into this,
Mhm.
has this
Mhm.
amazing book, The Body's Not Apology, does some, like, great work around this conversation, and talks about the ladder of oppression,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
talks about how if we are, like, this idea of, like, self God, this feels so limiting, but, like, self-love, like, whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
untangling these things in ourselves, right? Like,
Mhm.
we are is this really about other people? Is this really about ourselves? When we think about that, right? And it's like,
Mhm.
if we're untangling these things in ourselves, Sonia says we must be okay with that, the change of power that's going to happen. We
Yeah.
must be
Oh, I
okay
got
with the fact that if we like me hating my body oppresses me, but it oppresses other women on like,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean?
Oh,
And
yeah.
and there's this is tied up in this, like
Mhm.
if I am liberated and if my body is not an
Mhm.
apology and if I love myself, then that
Mhm.
means that I have to take my step that I have to get off the ladder, right?
Yeah.
And that I have to be
Mm.
okay with the fact that there are certain privileges that I have, you know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm. Mhm.
that
Mhm.
is what this is. That is what this is.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
and you know, I,
I mean, it's
the
very classic best friend exercise, right?
mhm.
Would you say this to your best friend?
Yes.
And I think sometimes people do.
Yeah, I think it's like me how does me wanting to remove my tattoos because I've had this thought. I'm like, I want to remove my
Mhm.
tattoos.
Mhm.
How does me wanting to lose weight? How does me
Mhm.
wanting clear skin? How does me wanting,
Mhm.
right? Again, this like we're talking about
Mhm.
Eurocentric white
Well,
woman
the question, yeah.
body beauty standard,
Mhm.
right? How does that harm other
Mhm.
women? Like,
Well, I think the question can be asked as well as what who profits off of my insecurities?
mhm,
And I've never personally had an insecurity that wasn't manufactured and then made money
mhm,
off of
mhm.
some old white fuck
Mhm.
sitting up in his lovely little office, and
Mhm.
there's a bunch of them,
Mhm.
and they're like, how can we oppress women
Mhm.
more? How can we harm marginalized communities more?
Mhm.
How can we yeah, yeah, just all of the things. And and that's when I go, like, when I hear the art, it's for me.
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
know, man.
Mhm.
I don't know, man.
Mhm.
I don't know what the answer to that is.
Mhm.
That isn't why does it make you feel good?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I mean, like, you know, Sonia Renee's work around, like, the body is not an apology started from a conversation that Sonia had with a friend who lives in a disabled
Mhm.
body, and,
Yes.
like, this stuff is not
Yep.
like, this isn't,
Yep.
like, uh oh my god, body positivity. No. That's no, that is not what this
Well,
is.
I would just like to stop anyone right now. It really irritates me when white people critique that movement because it's not fucking for you.
Mm-mm.
And it wasn't invented for you. It started from black women in the 70s, I believe. It might have been earlier than that.
Mhm.
Uh, and, and it's like I don't even want to get into that territory because it's not our conversation to have. And it
Well, the co-opted exactly, like, here we are, we're stealing, we're
yeah.
co-opting, we're marketing, and we're making it
Mhm.
about body positivity and size inclusivity and et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
Oh, again, for market like, we're capitalizing on
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
but what Sonya reminds all of us of is, like, this cannot
Mhm.
exist within these
Yeah.
things, like, it simply cannot.
Yeah.
Buying
Well, I guess
something
if you yeah. Yeah.
buying something to love yourself more
Mhm.
it does not bring
Mhm.
radical self-love. Like, you cannot
Mhm.
participate in the system and also love like, that's not
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
lives outside
Mhm.
of this.
Mhm.
It lives in another
Mhm.
it lives maybe before, after, whatever, but, like, you can't that's not the way to radical acceptance.
Mhm.
Like
Well, and I guess it's you the same thing happens. I just keep thinking of the wellness industry partly because that's, like, kind of where I, like, quote, unquote, "come from," and
ew.
or where I've well, it's, like, where I've spent a lot of time. I know that landscape very well.
No, I
I
yeah,
know
yeah,
that world very, very
of
well,
course.
and that's why I say that. Although, that being said, I was always like, "This is fucking terrifying. I'm stressed by this."
Yeah.
Um your juice cleanse is stressing me out, man.
Who?
Um, but it's the exact same thing. And I think like companies like, Gwyneth Paltrow, I will always hold as like, I love that woman. She's a wackadoo. She
Yeah.
is a wackadoo.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Whatever. I'm sure people have. I could have a whole podcast on
Oh, yeah.
deconstructing that woman.
Yeah.
Um
You wanna talk about who's allowed to age?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. She's just hooked up to some fucking IV and drinking her bone broth all day. I don't know if she's even alive.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, but it's the exact same thing. Even when it's alternative,
Mhm.
it's still an alternative form. It's not okay, we
Exactly.
won't put this inside of our bodies. We
Mm,
won't have this medical procedure, but
mhm,
I will have this supplement and I will do these other things and I will that is again participating
mhm,
in just another version of buying shit
mhm,
to feel better about yourself for
mhm,
zero point 0.5 seconds and then it wears off and what do? You go get your whatever you need topped up. Like
mhm,
I just
mhm, mhm, mhm. And, like
it's like the same thing. It's like if we were to unmask both of the things, they would just both
oh, it's the same
it's always the same guy every time. He's just like
yes.
put a different hat on.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, you know, and I think this all gets, like, way more complicated when and not complicated, but, like, okay, I think for myself,
Mhm.
as a white woman, right? I'm like, "What is my shit? What is my shit? Where am I taking it? What am I doing with it for myself, for other people, for the women that I am standing on top of in that ladder,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, What is
Yeah.
what is this? And
Mhm.
I almost want that to be the question, right? Like, not like
Yeah.
like, who are you doing this for? Like, what are you doing? What eh, like like,
Yeah.
what do you gain from doing
Yeah.
this? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what do
Yeah.
you gain? What power do you gain
Notoriety,
from
popularity, exactly, power
doing
over other
this?
women in the room.
Power
Uh-huh.
over. And you cannot love yourself if there's any power dynamic, like power over dynamic happening. Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't exist. Like, that's not,
Mhm.
again, the horse, I like there is no horse here. Like, this is every single day work. This is every day in my journal. This is every day in
And
my
I
whatever,
think
right?
the thing it's so easy. I'll like, I don't know. I don't know if this is true or not. I think I do have compassion for people. I have compassion for a moment, I will say, f- for people that feel like they are supposed to look a certain way,
Mhm.
right? Because we've been sold things. However, it is your responsibility to do something about it. It's
Yeah.
not your fault, but it is 100% your responsibility.
Yes. Exactly.
Mhm.
I love that expression. I think that expression is really
Mhm.
great for so many things, like so
Mhm.
many of the ailments of
And
the
it is
world.
hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. Mhm. And the the reason that this is like, okay, we've gone so many places. We've gone so many places. I want to
I
bring
know
it.
it's a funny conversation because it touches on so many
Aging
things.
touches everything.
Mhm.
It touches everything. And
Mhm.
time and the passage of time touches everything.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I was watching, okay, so I don't know anything about basketball. Not a damn thing.
Well,
I mean,
me neither.
my husband watches it, but there was a college basketball tournament this past weekend, and there's this coach who coaches LSU.
I clicked the link. I love it.
So there's this coach who coaches
This is a
LSU
coach. Wow.
women's basketball,
Mhm.
and her name is Kim Mulkey. I don't know. I'm not sure
Mulkey?
exactly how
Yeah.
to pronounce that. Okay, so LSU won this.
I want matching of this outfit.
LSU, I think, won this weekend. I think they did. Yes. Anyways, we're watching this in my grandparents' living room. All of
Mhm.
us. Grandpa Merv, Grandma
Oh,
Rose.
do I not love sitting down and watching TV with a woman past 75?
Yes. Yeah.
Does she not have Simon's grandma? Oh my god, she just says the most.
It's so good.
She's
So
such a fucking feminist. It's actually quite hilarious, but that's a whole other conversation.
It's so good.
Anyway,
Okay, so we're watching this all together. So it's like
yeah.
Grandpa Merv, Grandma Rose, me, my
Yeah.
dad. It's like
Mhm.
generations, right? Like all in
Ah,
this room watching this
delicious.
I know. I know, it's so delicious.
What a scene.
What a scene. Watching a
The
women
tension, the stakes. I can't.
watching
Uh-huh.
a women's college basketball game in this,
Mhm.
like, I think it was like an important tournament. I don't know. And the coach is Kim on the sidelines of
Mhm.
like one of these teams, right? And
Okay,
Kim
never mind. This is our promo for this episode on the
it's so good.
on the Instagram. Holy shit.
And Kim, okay, so obvious, like again, is this is pretty
We're
obvious, right?
burying the lead here. Her outfits are fucking incredible.
Her Okay, I'm going there. I'm going there. I'm
I
going
just
there.
need to say it because I'm sure the listeners are irritated. They're just great. If you haven't heard, Googled them,
Okay,
listener.
but this is the thing. Is like they're just great. And it's like, but it's like that in and of itself, watching a women's basketball game coached by a woman,
Mhm.
right? Like right there in and
Mhm.
of itself, all of these generations watching this, right? That and
Mhm.
then you add on the fact that this woman is a
Mhm.
style icon and
Mhm.
like loves fashion, right?
I can't imagine wearing heels on the side of a basketball court. That feels so dangerous.
Right?
She's running in these.
Okay. I'm hot. I'm like sweating right now.
Okay.
So so
Uh-huh.
when I tell you,
Yeah.
you're not gonna be surprised, but when I tell you that the
No.
we did was talk about this woman for,
Yeah.
like, 2 hours during this
2
game,
hours. Yeah.
2 hours during this
Yeah.
game,
Yeah.
and all of the things that were said about this
Yeah.
woman's clothes,
You could write a whole play.
face, uh,
Yeah.
age,
Yeah.
emotions,
I love
power,
it.
not
I love
power,
it.
da 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 da, like within the
Yeah.
context of a game, like, all of these things.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is a scene exactly, this is
Yeah.
an entire play, and I felt like I wanted to talk about this episode because of the dynamics in the room of all
Mhm.
of these age, across the border of
Yeah.
age interpretations of this woman, you know?
Mhm.
And
And it's quite funny I mean, her outfits are certainly th I don't know, vibrant, but she clearly puts on what okay, I don't even like this word, but, she does her hair, she colors her hair, she's got a
mhm,
nice little blowout going on, she's
mhm,
got makeup,
mhm,
like, she's got fucking pumps on.
mhm.
I wouldn't call this even weird for a red carpet of any kind, it's just in context,
Right, then you have the
right?
context of it being
Yeah, yeah.
sports, right? And, like, this, like, hyper masculine, even, like, patriarchal thing, even if it is
Mhm,
women's sports, like, duh. And
mhm.
so it's just like there's so many intersections happening. Like,
Totally,
there's so many
totally,
things happening. And
totally.
race, right? This woman is a white
Yep,
coach on, of a
yep,
of a women's basketball team. Like, just
yep.
so many things. And so I okay, first of all, if you're googling this woman, you're seeing, not only are you seeing these outfits, but you're probably seeing photos of the her in an highly emotional state, because this is what we do to
Mhm,
women, right? Like, she's not passively sitting in any of these pictures.
mhm.
She's
Yeah,
engaged, she's yelling, she's screaming, she's emotional, she's whatever, right? Like, again, what does that say? What are
mhm.
we doing with that? Obviously, you can fill in the
Yeah,
the blanks. But what like, the comments in this room
yeah.
and how they varied were so interesting, and
Mhm,
my grandma exactly, my grandma, you
mhm.
know, is like the has her stuff, right? But
Yeah, I can't imagine.
is the woman in the room, the oldest
Yeah,
woman in the room, is
yeah,
looking at this woman and is
yeah,
like, literally was like, "I
yeah.
I wish I could I'm
Oh,
happy that I got to see this. Like, I'm happy. I wish I could have been this way, and I'm happy that I got to see this." You know what
oh
I
my
mean?
god, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't.
Like, literally
Yeah,
was like, said all of the fucked up shit. Said all the
I know.
fucked up shit. But
Well, and that's
also
what I think is very interesting about women of that. I mean, I even see it with 50-plus-year-old women,
Mhm,
60-plus-year-old women.
mhm.
They say the fucked up shit, but then they land.
Yep.
And this is what I think is so funny about the way politics comes into it, because when people vote against themselves, because
Mhm,
the veneer is always the thing. It's always that fucked up shit thing.
mhm.
But then it lands, and you know, I don't like it lands in girl power. It lands in like hell yeah sister. It
It
lands in
lands.
like,
Yes,
like
yes.
it's always so yeah, yeah, it's so interesting.
It always
It's
and
so interesting.
yeah,
And
and
I have compassion for those women. I have compassion for those women. I do not have compassion for the 30-year-olds telling me why their lip injections make them feel good about themselves.
well, she's, and my grandmother's a woman of God, and she
Yeah.
was just like, I mean, she's 94,
Yeah.
and said all the fucked up shit, and then
Yeah.
multiple times was like, "This is amazing. I'm so glad I'm watching this. I'm so glad I'm seeing this. This is incredible." What like
Oh.
I'm so affected by the and was just like feeling this woman in her power, and then also, of course, because it's a woman and because she's a basketball coach, there's commentary throughout the entire fucking game about her,
Mhm.
and not the game and not the
Mhm.
players, but about her and her outfits. And Kim said something that they was in like a little, I mean, literally there's like the
Mhm.
like commercial break thing about Kim's fucking outfits.
Mhm.
And it's like Kim said, if me being me gets people to these games to support these women, great.
Yeah.
I don't like whatever.
Yeah.
Put pictures of me screaming on the sidelines, put pictures of like me
Yeah.
like looking wackadoodle, like whatever. Like I don't care. Like
Mhm.
these women need people to give a shit about women's basketball specifically and give money
Yeah.
towards women's basketball and blah blah blah, right?
Yes. Yes.
Especially college women's basketball. Anyways, it was such an example of all the shit we're talking about. Like
Wow.
this
I
is an
love that. I love those moments.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Anyways, I think
Wow. I think that's a great place to end.
yeah.
I think it's a great place to end. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I have a lot of compassion. Not even just compassion, like respect for and I think it must be so amazing. I mean, I think of my grandma a lot.
Mhm.
Um who her life was she chose there was a path that was definitely a lot easier for her available, and she chose the path of she chose art, she chose love, she chose
Same.
the at the time was probably not the easiest thing to do in the world. Um and it must be really amazing to get to the end of your life in any kind of capacity, and wouldn't we all be so lucky to get the opportunity to lay on our deathbed? Because as we know, things fall from the sky. And think, and I wonder what I'll think about the trajectory of the world
Mhm.
when I'm in my 90s and I'm watching TV with my granddaughter. You
Mhm.
know, like I wonder what, and I wonder what fucked up shit I'll be saying that pisses her off in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly because
I wonder. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. I'm sitting there and I'm like, "Grandma, I'm not even gonna go there
yeah,
with you because I know
no,
you know I
yeah,
know you know." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
also, like,
Well, what is that conversation do in that
what is
moment,
that
right?
conversation
Yeah.
doing? And then there's also,
Yeah.
like, this is a woman who exactly, who she doesn't need me to go there. She doesn't need me to go there.
Yeah.
She doesn't need me to go there. But yeah, like, it was wild. It
Yeah.
was a real moment. And I exactly went to
Yeah.
that place too. I was like, 94? What will I be
Yeah.
like? What would this scene be like? How is that
Yeah.
woman on the TV different at
Yeah.
when I'm 94 that we're
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah.
Is she different?
Yeah, I wonder what she'll be dressed in.
Is she the
I wonder
same?
what she'll look like. Yeah.
Is she is
Ugh.
she the same woman? Is she an older white like what who is she? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay, well, thanks so much for listening.
Yes, thank
Um,
you.
if you're looking for more of us, you can find us on Patreon.
Mhm.
Where we have 2 bonus episodes that will be coming out soon. You can get uncut episodes as well, where
Yes.
I guarantee you there will be a lot of things that I cut out of this episode that I will leave on Patreon. So if you got bones to pick with me and you want to listen to more, you can go find that over there.
Yep. Yep, 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 yep.
If it's not, I don't know, paying for stuff is not in your bag right now, um, pick up your phone. It's
Yeah.
probably nearby. Maybe
Yeah.
if it's in your pocket or on the counter,
Yeah.
leave a little review.
Please.
Don't care what you say, even if you disagree with me, if you give us 5 stars.
Who cares? Yeah,
um,
please, like,
yeah.
if you reach out to us in any way, shape, or form and are like, "We love this episode. This was so funny," and you take the time to text us, you take the time to DM us, just take that just use that same time and put that shit in a
We read
review.
them.
Yes,
We read them. You
we
can
do.
talk to us in the reviews.
Exactly.
Um, and then send it to a friend and tell them to review. I'll take a review from anyone. I
Mhm,
don't mind.
mhm. I mean, honestly, even if it's 1 star, whatever, like, just I
No,
don't care.
I want 5. No, I want 5.
Okay.
Um,
Mm.
okay, anyway. And then VIP days we are booking for, aka Big Vision Day, we are booking for May.
Yeah.
Booking for May. So if you want business to feel more like art and less like I
everything
don't
we
know. I
talked about
promise I won't
today?
yell at you. Yeah, everything we talked about today. Jacques and I, current projects we're working on are like development and production of your big idea.
Mhm.
And you can find more info in the description, etc., etc. And actually, while we're just doing the promotion thing, if you don't want Big Vision Day, you just want an hour of our time, you can find that over on Patreon, where we do offer like kind of one-on-one format of just be like,
Yep.
here's this thing I'm thinking about. Okay, gorgeous. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for listening to Do You Ever Feel Like?
Follow this chaos wherever you get your podcasts.
Our artwork is by Simon Peng. Do You Ever Feel Like is produced by Jacqueline Wills
And Phoebe Taylor. You can follow us on Instagram at doyoueverpod.
You can write to us at doyoueverpod@gmail.com. Okay, bye!